Hello everyone, this is Aus. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can make this awesome face rig. You have 6 bones to control the location, rotation, and scale of your facial expressions or just images. And you have 1 bone to control which image are you using. So if I can change that to 0, that means I'm not using any image. 1, I'm using the mouth one. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I can also do that for the eyes. I can add 2 eyebrows. So you can see in a matter of seconds I've been able to change the facial expression of this robot. I can change the scale. I can also change the rotation. I can change the location too. Now if we go back to shading, let's take a look at the node tree. It seems pretty complex, but it's really not. You take the value that you're using to control which mouth or which image you're using, you compare it. When the value is 1, image 1 will be shown. When the value is 2, image 2 will be shown, and so on. And to control the location, rotation, and scale of your images, to do that, you just use 3 drivers, or 4 in this case. 1 and 2 to control the location on the X and Y of your image, and 1 for the scale, and 1 for the rotation. After you do that, you get a functioning face rig that you can use to rig your characters. And today we're gonna go over how you can make it. So after making a new blend file, delete the light and the camera, you don't need those, and we're going to use the default cube as our face. So go to UV editing, click on the front face, and click on all the faces, select A to select all the faces, and go to U, project from view, bonds, so all the faces are now stacked in the same place. Click tab and go to shading, and we're gonna add our images. So image texture, click open, go to face, and add mouth 1. So after adding the image, as you can see, it shows on the front and the back face. So let's first control the location, rotation, and scale of this image. To do that, click Ctrl T if you're using Node Wrangler. It will add a UV coordinates, texture coordinates, and a mapping node. As you can see, when I scale this, it doesn't scale off center. So to fix that, add a math node, vector math, set it to subtract, and subtract 0.5, and duplicate it with Ctrl D, and set it to add, and add 0.5 after your mapping. So now when you scale it, it scales of the center of the image, and also when you rotate it, it rotates correctly. So if you set this back to 0 and you make the scale real small, let's say 4, as you can see, the image gets repeated. And this, because you have set this to repeat, set it to clip. So you'll have only 1 mouth. When you scale it, you get this. So set this to 1 and add the rest of your images. You need to duplicate this, so it duplicates the settings. Add mouth 2, and also add mouth 3. Now if I connect this, hold Alt, connect this in here, also connect it in here, grab this and move it over here. You can see mouth 1, mouth 2, and mouth 3 are all controlled by a single mapping node. So after adding your mouth images, let's add the eyes. So select all these, Shift D to duplicate, grab on the y-axis, connect this with Alt and right mouse dragging. Let's change this to I1. So I1, I2, and I3. So this, and this. After that, we need to go back to layout, click Shift A, add a single bone. You want to check in front and check the axes, so you can see the axes of your bone. We need to go tab to edit mode. So grab this bone, move it on the Z axis, scale it. You also want to duplicate it. You want to name this bone mouth. Let's name this I.L. Duplicate it, grab it on the Y. Let's name this I.R. Duplicate the mouth too, and let's name this Pro. So this bone will have the custom properties. Let's add two custom properties. The first one, let's call it the mouth shape, and we want the value to be an integer. So 0 mean no mouth, 1 for mouth 1, 2 for mouth 2, and 3 for mouth 3. Let's click OK, add a new property, go to property settings, set it to integer. Let's call this I shape, set this value to be 3 too. Click on OK, and you want to go back to object mode, and let's go back to shading. Now we're going to use these bones. We just move them in front of the face like so, and we're going to use these bones to control the eyes and the mouth. So let's disconnect this, move this over here, and the first thing we're going to do is we are going to control the location. Control the location. As you can see, I can control this and control this. And to control them both, you need a combine XYZ, and you want to take this bone. Let's see which axes we want. We want the Z axis and the Y axis. So go back to shading. You want to add a math node, and in this math node, or let's just add a value node. So a value, let's call this mouth Z, and you want to right click, add a driver. You want to use the armature, you want to use the mouth bone, and you want the Z location, and you want it in the local space. So now if I click on my armature, Control Tab, and I move this, it will move. You can see because the Z is connected to the X, and the X is connected. Anyway, duplicate this, also duplicate copy the driver, and you want to paste the driver. Connect this driver to the Y, and go click on Edit Driver. And instead of using the Z, you'll use the Y. Now go back to pose mode, and when you move it up, the mouse moves down. So you need the negative value. So click on this. Instead of plus, use the star, and you want to multiply it by -1. So now you go back to pose mode, up for up, down for down, and the left and right, they just work. So now if you want to change the location of your mouth, nobody has their mouth in front of in the middle of their face. So let's add a math node, and you want to add a 0. Let's just add to this value. So the mouth right here would be nice. So this will also get connected to the 3 images of the mouth. So now, as you can see, the location control does work. And now let's add a rotation control. It's just Control G or Control J, and let's name this a mouth location. So now, after you can successfully control the location of your images, now we're going to go over how you can control the rotation. So what we're going to do first is duplicate this mapping node and add it before the subtract, and connect this location to this location. And now set this to 0. Now when you rotate, it will rotate on its current axis. So when this was connected in here and you want to rotate it, it will rotate on its original pivot point. Now when you do this, it gets a new pivot point in the center of your image. So now let's control the rotation, drag this and click on value, and you want to copy your driver, paste driver, and now you want to edit your driver. So click edit driver. Instead of the location, you want the rotation on the x-axis. So as you can see, the x-axis is the one we want to rotate on. So the rotation on the x, and you also want a combine XYZ. You want to control this to the Z and connect it to the rotation. So now if I click Control Tab to go to pose mode, I rotate this bone, it will change the rotation of my image. The location works, but the scale doesn't work. So to make the scale work, duplicate your value and duplicate or copy your driver, paste your driver, and you want to edit your driver. Keeps quitting. Instead of the rotation, you'll take the average scale and connect it to a math node, set it to add. You want to take this and connect it to the scale. Now this value is multiplied by negative, so remove this. This value is also multiplied by negative, but it works, so that negative was in its rightful place. So this value control the baseline scale of your image, and when you scale the bone, it scales with it. So now let's group this. Let's call it mouth rotation and scale. So now, after you can successfully control the location, rotation, and scale of your object or your image, you want to go Control tab to go to object mode, and now we want to control which image are we showing. So to do that, go to your armature and go to the property we just added, and right click, click copy as a new driver, go back to shading, to your object, and add a value node. Right click and call paste driver. So the value is now 0, so I'm setting it to a 0 in here. So let's get a compare node. We can't compare integers, but we'll compare it as a float. Set this to 0. Or let's just set it to 0.5 and connect it to a mix node. So add a mix node. Connect this to the second value. Connect this to the factor and make this black. So when the value is compared to 0.5, it will give us the second image, and when the value is compared to 1.5, it will give us the second image, and when the value is compared to 2.5, so 2.5, it will give us the third image. So now these two images are connected, but it gives us the first image. Why? Because we are setting it to 0, so mouth shape 0, change this to 1, change this to 2, and 3. So the reason the number 3 isn't working, so let's go back. So the third one is going to be 3.5, this one is going to be 2.5, this one is going to be 1.5. So now it should work. So number 3 is the image 3, number 2 is the image 2, number 1 is the image 1, and 0 is no image. So the mouth is working. Go back to shading. Let's just make this readable. Let's move this over here. Grab these two, move them over here. Let me just move these. Move these. I'm going to group these values. So Control G, then tab to get out. Get this over here, and I want to grab all of these images. I want to get this over here, and these images will be connected to a mix nodes like so, and the mix nodes are controlled by this value. So let's do this, this. Now we've added 3 reroutes. Let's do this. So now it's more readable. and we're just gonna duplicate this. Let's grab it over here, Control J. Let's call this mouth control, and we want to duplicate it for the eyes. We will just take this, grab our image one, connect this over here, connect this over here. You want to delete this, add your image 2, connect this, and also connect it right here. Delete your image 3 and add your eye, connect the eye to the eye, and let's preview this. Now let's copy our driver, the one driver that, let's call this mouth shape. I wanna copy driver, or you just can do it by going to the armature and your eye shape, and go copy as a new driver, and you can paste it right here. So you can paste the driver, and now the eye shape is controlling the eyes. So you can see. So let's go for eye shape 2, and to control the location of your eye, we're just gonna keep copying drivers. So let's first take the Z one. Let's go copy driver. Let's paste the driver right here. Go to edit driver, and instead of the mouth, we'll use the eye left. So now when this bone moves, it will move with it. And now you'll say it's not in the position of the eye. We'll fix this. Let's just copy this driver, paste the driver, go edit driver. Instead of the Z, we'll take the Y. And now let's see, it's inverted. So just like before, on a multiply by -1, and now it should work. So for the eye, let's just add 2 math nodes, set to add, and you want to name this to eye location, and let's get it in the right location. So add and subtract to the location will change the baseline location. So now let's connect it to the bone. Let's see, it moves with it. And we'll do this for the rotation too. So let's just copy the rotation driver. Let's go this, copy driver, and paste driver. And you want to go edit driver. Instead of the mouth, we'll use the IL. And let's see now, it rotates correctly. And you want to go back. Let's name this first. So instead of mouth, we'll use IL. Grab this over here, and we'll copy this scale driver. So copy driver, go back to your eye and click paste driver. You want to go edit your driver. Instead of the mouth, we'll use the eye left. So now the eye left scale gets killed with the eye scale. I like it inverted like this. When the scale is big, the eye will get small. When the scale is small, the eye will get big. You can multiply it by a negative value if you like. This value controls the default scale. So if you make the default scale small, you'll have to scale this to get the scale you want. Let's just add 1. Let's add 2. Let's add 0.5. Let's actually subtract 0.5. Now 0.1 seems to be good. So now to get the second eye, we are going to duplicate this whole thing. And let's preview this. And let's change this to the second eye. So you can just remove the negative value and it will move automatically. It will mirror its location. You only need to mirror 1. And because I didn't mirror the bones, they're not perfect. So let's do some more driver copying. So the location driver, let's call this the Y. So let's go copy driver, go to this and paste driver and go to edit driver. Instead of I left, we'll use IR. So now it will move. Let's just paste the driver again, go to edit driver and use IR, and let's see if it works. It doesn't work because I didn't edit the driver and change the Z to the Y, and now it should work, but it's inverted like always. So multiply by -1 to revert it. I don't know if this is a word. So now let's control the rotation. It's just as simple as copy a driver and paste the driver, edit the driver and use IR. And now let's see, it works. And for the scale, we'll paste the same driver and let's edit the driver. Instead of location, we'll use the average scale and it's multiplied by 1, so let's remove that. And now if you add a mix node, mix, and I will set it to add, and you'll have both of your eyes. So now the I2 is not controlled by this value. Where is it? The eye shape changes one eye and it leaves the other eye. So let's fix this. Go back, take this and let's name it eye shape. You can name stuff if you want. Copy a driver, go back and paste the driver. This driver doesn't need any change. So now if you go back to edit mode, rotate these eyes, you scale them, you can also grab them. Now let's add another mix node, connect this to this and connect the mouth. I want the mouth to be up top, so let's preview this and connect it to this. It's connected to the emission. So now after you made your armature, which can control the eyes, the mouth, also the eye shapes and the mouth shape, this default cube is looking really good. So now you want to change the shape of your bones. You will want to go back to object mode and create a simple shape like this one. Select your armature, go to pose mode, select your bones. You want to go to object property or bone property, and you want to select your plane or shape. And while you're selecting your shape, you need to Control Alt and click on it, so it will be applied to all the bones. You can change its rotation while clicking Alt. You can change its scale. Let's make it this big. You can also change the color of your bones by going to, where is it, bone groups. So add 3, go to the first one, make it blue. Control the scale. I did not change the second driver, so let's change that. Go to the second driver, scale driver, edit driver. Instead of eye left, we'll use eye right. Now when you scale this bone, only one eye gets scaled. When I scale this bone, each bone controls each eye. So now the tutorial is finished. Thank you all for watching. If you like this type of content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. See you on the next one.